Good day to everyone. This is Myrna Tang reporting on the impeded peace process of the GRP and CPP-NPA crisis intervention management. A crisis is quick and intense. Regular coping and problem-solving skills are inadequate. A crisis disrupts someone's usual or stable state. A crisis happens when a person meets an impassable hurdle to vital life goals. The Communist Party of the Philippines and the New People's Army, CPP-NPA, aspires to topple the Philippine government in favor of working-class-led state and abolish American influence in the country. In December 1968, Jose Maria Sison founded the Communist Party of the Philippines. And on March 1969, the New People's Army was established. In April 1973, the NDF, a coalition of progressive organizations, was created. CPP and NPA are among its members organizations. Sison met with the CPP-NPA Central Committee in February 1971 to discuss attacking and Manila Liberal Party protest against Marcos. A government crackdown was intended to gain CPP-NPA support. 3 CPP-NPA members fled to a camp after putting 4 explosives onto the Manila Plaza Miranda stage on August 21. Liberals blamed President Marcos for the incident after the explosion. Marcos crushed the left and suspended habeas corpus, so the martial law was declared. So, on January 17, 1981, Marcos lifted martial law, easing CPP-NPA tensions. Meanwhile, the CPP-NPA returned to urban areas and formed alliances with lawful opposition parties. Aquino later freed Sison and Buscaino in 1980. Only Sison returned to CPP-NPA operations. Although he fled to the Netherlands, he became NDF chief political advisor but denied CPP-NPA involvement. Armando Liwanag, Sison's alias, replaced Salas as CPP chairman. With regard to the legal and other remedies to resolve the crisis, the peace process between the government and the CPP-NPA, NDF, and by 1987, beginning of peace process between the government and these 3 parties. August to December 1986, preliminary peace talks are conducted between the administration of Corazon Aquino and the CPP-NPA-NDF, but end in the wake of the Mendiola massacre on January 22, 1987, in which 13 farmers were killed and scores injured. Peace negotiations remained at a standstill throughout the Aquino's term. In 1986, Corazon Aquino, elected President of the Republic of the Philippines, started the peace process again. In 1987, the central leadership ordered a boycott of elections, but many CPP-NPA members ignored the command. Aquino ordered the release of political prisoners, including Sison and Buscaino. Sison became chief national political consultant to the NDF, but denied continued involvement with CPP and NPA. President Ramos, in 1992 to 1998, declares a policy of amnesty and reconciliation. Peace talks resumed under his administration. In 1992, the amnesty proclamation for the rebels negotiations resumed under his term, and on September 1, 1992, the Hague Joint Declaration was signed. In June 14, 1994, the two parties signed the Brooklyn Joint Statement. And in February 24, 1995, the Joint Agreement on Safety and Immunity Guarantee was signed, called JASIG. President Estrada, in 1998 to 2001, signed also. Both parties acknowledged that respect for human rights and adherence to the principles of international humanitarian law are necessary to achieve a just and lasting peace. This is the Comprehensive Agreement on Respect for Human Rights and International Law, called the CAR-HRIHL. So, in 2001, the NDF terminated the peace talks after the Senate ratified the Visiting Forces Agreement of the administration of President Joseph Estrada in the United States of America. Then in 2001 to 2010, the government and the CPP-NPA NDF hold informal talks and agree to resume formal negotiations during the time of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. March 2001, the JASIG is reinstated. And April 27 to 30, peace talks are resumed in Oslo, Norway. And in June 10, 2001, the second round of peace talks is held in Oslo. In August 9, U.S. lists CPP-NPA as a terrorist organization. And January 29, 2003, the government submits the draft of a final peace accord which the NDF rejects. 2004, the peace talks broke down again after the CPP-NPA was included in the terrorist list of the government. February 10 to 14, the first round of formal peace negotiations takes place in Oslo. And March 28 to April 1, the second round of formal peace negotiation takes place. And the Joint Monitoring Committee of the CAR-HRIHL is finally formed in 2004, and the third round of peace talk was held. But it broke down again in August 24, 2004, when the U.S. retains the CPP-NPA on terror list. January 24, a government monitoring committee was created for CAR-HRIHL. And then February 2010, after years of sporadic informal talks, the NDF ends possibility of talks with the lame duck Arroyo administration. And during the term of President Aquino in 2010 to 2016, after a 7-year cessation, formal talks resumed. At the end of the February talks, however, a 22-month impasse begins that leads to governments ending formal talks in April 2013. In July 2011, the verification mechanism of JASIG protected individuals failed due to the fact that NDF did not deposit the required actual photos of alleged consultants using pseudonyms. Instead, the NDF put the photos in encrypted diskettes, which they failed to decrypt. So in December 2012, 27-day ceasefire from December 20, 2012 to 2013 to discuss new ways to push the talks forward by forging a common declaration of national unity and lasting peace, and the NDF reverted to its preconditions under the regular track. And in 2014, discrete and unofficial discussions were carried out by OPAP to facilitate the revival of peace talks. And during the term of President Duterte, he approves a 6-point peace and development agenda that includes an accelerated timeline on the peace talks. And in June 15-16, 2016, preliminary talks on the resumption of the peace negotiations were held in Oslo, Norway. July 18, 2016, President Rodrigo Duterte approved his 6-point peace and development agenda. But the CPP says that it no longer supports Duterte's war on drugs, calling it anti-people and anti-democratic. So President Duterte declared an indefinite unilateral ceasefire in August 20, and detained NDF consultants were released for negotiations. And the Office of the President Advisor on Peace Process, OPAP, and the University of the Philippines signed a Memorandum of Understanding. And October 6 to 10, the second round of talks was held in Oslo, Norway. And so on. But the third round of peace talks is conducted in Rome, Italy, and end with an agreement to continue unilateral ceasefire. And in the whole February, the government cancels JASIG after Duterte orders the termination of peace talks. Following successful back-channel talks with the NDF Presidential Advisor on Peace Process, Secretary Jesus Dureza says that the peace talks will resume in April. And so the fourth round of peace talks was conducted in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, in April 3 to 6 in 2017. And then the fifth round was in May 27, 2017, but the government cancels back-channel talks with NDF in July 19. And after season says that there is no longer need for peace talks due to Duterte's administration, obsession with martial law and mass murder, the war of words between Season and Duterte continue, and Duterte says that he may leave it to the next president to pursue peace talks with the communist rebels. The government cancels peace talks with the CPP, NPA, and NDF. November 23, 2017, Duterte signs Proclamation number 360, which declares the termination of peace talks with communist rebel. And December 5, Duterte signs a proclamation formally designated the CPP-NPA as a terrorist group. So there is a possible crisis, intervention, and the management of framework. By strengthening the national task to end local communist armed conflict, further strengthening the national task force to end local communists and the armed conflict through localized peace engagement. This is one way for the intervention of this crisis, and also localized peace engagement is intended to facilitate the process on a local or community level. As LPE aims to reach future surrenderers, this is encouraged. Local peace efforts are more effective than national peacekeeping operations. Localized peace dialogues are more creative and fruitful. The communist many demands make national negotiations with CPP, NPA, NDF problematic. The goal of the localized peace engagement is to strengthen national and local governance actors' ability to address socioeconomic inequities, to address insurgency challenges, and promote a culture of peace in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable communities, encouraging human and national development. It has a dual face: insincerity, taking undue advantage, and obtaining foreign funding and support. So, in this LPE, the local process, two tracks approach for localization is shown in the charts, in the following chart that I will present, and it is in my PowerPoint. And so we had the pre-localization, then all the different things that we have to undertake in the pre-localization will then pass and have a localization, and then the post-localization, and to achieve a strategic communication among these three processes to be able to achieve this problem. And we will also have the local peace dialogues to track the local peace dialogues. We also have pre-localization, the localization, the post-localization, and the strategic communities wherein the government and the local government armed conflict can end and well be informed to the citizens, and also issues in any rallies that may be addressed. There will also be a cultural harmony and community resiliency. So the phases of the LPL, the local peace effort, will have the organizational phase, the information gathering phase, the implementation phase, and the assessment phase. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our crisis management proposals to be able to achieve this intervention. Thank you and good day.